All right, welcome and welcome back again to another episode of the Snyk Office Hours. My name is Brian Vermeer, and I am one of the hosts today, and I'm the one of the developer advocates within the Snyk team. And just like last month, I am here together with my partner in crime, Matt Jarvis. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Brian, I am excellent. I'm just trying to sort out my many windows here at the minute. Right, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, so tell me, what is our topic for today?
So today we are going to be talking about Snyk Code, right?
Okay, Snyk Code. But what is Snyk Code? I mean, I know, you know, but let's explain it to the wider world what it actually does and what it is.
Yeah, cool. So Snyk Code is a SAST tool, a static application security testing tool, part of the Snyk product family. I think probably we should put this in a bit of context to start with, right? Because historically, SAST tools have been around for a long, long time, right? I mean, I can remember SAST kind of testing when I first got into this industry way back in the midst of time, like 20 plus years. But they used to be super slow because you were basically traversing all the code pathways kind of manually, right? That would take a very long time. So you'd run these things overnight. If you had a large code base, it'd take hours and hours and hours. And it would come up with like hundreds and hundreds of things, wouldn't it? And loads of false positives. And Snyk Code, I think, is super cool because it's just super fast. And part of that is like machine learning kind of stuff. It's got a giant database in the back end of loads and loads of code. And I mean, we'll look at some of the features, won't we, Brian? Like when we kind of step through using it a bit, but it's super fast, basically. So it kind of changes the game for how you use SAST tools because, like with all the Snyk stuff, you can embed this all the way through your SDLC. So like the Snyk Code integration, the CLI, the Snyk Code integration in the IDE. You can integrate with your source code management. You can integrate with your CI/CD. And, it's kind of fast enough that you can be writing code in your IDE and it's going to be making suggestions to you.
All right.
And yeah, so I guess that's the 10,000 foot view, right?
Well, let's get first back to the basics. We are on a stream, and I see that are some people already in either the chat room of Twitch or YouTube. So I want to welcome you. And well, you probably have seen that we're going to talk about Snyk Code, our SAST solution. If you have any questions during the live stream, feel free to pop them in the chat. We can see them, and I see that Kyle is on board already, and Digital Engineer is here, and well, please, if you are here, tell us already that you're here. Where are you from? We love the shout outs. Thank you for that. First of all, I am an engineer. I am not a security expert. So SAST, that's probably abbreviation, right?
Static application security testing.
Well, that's one thing. I mean, I feel like within the application security corner of the internet or the InfoSec, we use a lot of these abbreviations. And as your Joe average engineer, I have no clue what these acronyms are. So static application security testing. Basically,
yeah, so, I mean, it's basically like, I guess when I think of it in my head, I always think of it as like, this is testing code you wrote. Yeah. Like you've got like software composition analysis, which is like looking at stuff you've pulled in, libraries you're including, all your dependencies. And yeah, very true, Carl, very true.
I couldn't agree more. Complete side note, I will put it in the chat later. I know that one of my former colleagues, and she's well known within the InfoSec community, Alyssa Miller, wrote a cheat sheet once on what are these acronyms within security testing. So what is DAST, SAST, SCA, like all these things that my head blows away from. Like I have no clue.
That's another one. And there's some of these that I don't even know what they mean.
So today we are going to talk about our own code, basically the custom code that I engineer, take a lot of pride in writing, and that I think makes the difference. Basically, well, I would say the business logic within most applications, right? That's probably the code that the engineers...
Stuff that we've actually written, and when we test it, we have access to the source code, because some security testing is about like poking things from the outside, or poking it when it's running, which is that DAST and IAS stuff is all kind of in that field, isn't it, where you sort of treat it like a black box. But for SAST, like, we've got access to the source code, we can read the code, find the problems in it.
So, quick question for everybody that's watching currently, and I know that we definitely have a delay of a few seconds, so that means that I can drink a sip of coffee in the meantime. Who of you already uses SAST tooling, and more specifically, who of you is already familiar to, well, some extent with Snyk Code, or have tried Snyk Code either now or maybe in the recent past, or do you want to try Snyk Code? I wonder why, or well, I'm curious on why you logged into this stream. I know why I'm here, but I want to know why you're here, because we are here basically to answer your questions, and
I don't know why I'm here, Brian.
Well, I'm here because you asked me to. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That is the only reason why I'm here. No, that's not true. That is totally not true.
Yeah. So I mean, we're not experts on Snyk Code either, are we, Brian? We kind of obviously, we get to play around with all of Snyk stuff, but the whole point of these streams really is that you and I explore this stuff in real time. We have to go and look stuff up. We might do some Googling, and we might have to ask some questions of some cleverer folks than us at some point after the stream. But so yeah, and if you can ask us questions about anything Snyk related on this stream. Doesn't have to be about Snyk Code. If you want to ask anything about Snyk generally, that's the point of this. It's not a webinar. We're really here just to provide some background entertainment, hopefully, and answer some questions. So feel free to, and we'll stop as we go along, and as questions come in.
So let's get started with Snyk Code. What is the first thing that we need to do? We definitely need to sign up.
I guess we should look at how you turn it on, right? Okay. I think that's the so I've got the docs up here. Let me share my Snyk, shall we? And we'll where are we? Right. So
this is always the difficult part of being a presenter online, sharing your screen.
Okay, cool. Right. So we're looking at Snyk.
Oh, don't show your organization idea. What are you doing? Yeah. You might need to change that afterwards.
Yeah, there's nothing connected to that. This is a demo thing anyway. So
okay.
So where do we start? Right. So in our settings, which you access by this little cog at the top of your Snyk account, you clearly need a Snyk account to use Snyk Code. We should put that. That's the first thing that.
I'm not.
What's happening, Brian? You driving?
I tried some things. You know how it works with these I like. Hey, we've got different layouts. Let's try that. Let's be cool.
So if we go to Snyk Code in our settings, we just have a big slider, enabled, disabled. So it's super easy, right? If you've got a Snyk account, you can use Snyk Code, and that's on all plans, isn't it? So like, even if you're a free Snyk user, you get access to Snyk Code. And yeah, once it's turned on in your project, in your settings, you're good to go. So I guess the first thing we maybe want to look at is like integrating it into your source code management, right? So if we go and look at a project with Snyk Code turned on, it's just going to do its magic, right? Behind the scenes, we don't need to do anything, Brian, do we? Once we've clicked our big button on, it's just going to do it.
Yeah, I think that if you add Snyk Code afterwards and you already have projects in, you might need to re-import them. That is the only thing.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense if you've imported them already, because it's doing its thing on a regular basis. So we're going to have a look at one of these. So for folks who maybe if you're completely new to Snyk, one of the things the ways you integrate with Snyk is you can like add projects directly from a whole range of different integrations. So we go like add project, and we've got integration with things like GitHub, with Bitbucket, with a whole range of different things depending on which bits of Snyk you're using. Like if you're using containers, we integrate with Docker Hub. But like, for the purposes of today's thing, we're really going to just talk about SCM, system source code management. So GitHub is where I store all my stuff, and it's super easy to add stuff from GitHub. We just click the GitHub button. It's going to like show me a whole load of repos that are in my account that I can add to it, and all of the organizations that I'm subscribed to in GitHub. But let's just cancel out that because I've already got a bunch of stuff in my Snyk account. And so let's go and have a look at this goof repository here. So this is a vulnerable node application, right, Brian? This is our in-house vulnerable node application that I've got forked into my GitHub account. And Snyk's automatically found a whole bunch of stuff in that source code repository. It's going to do, because I've got Snyk open source and Snyk container turned on for that as well. It's going to look at all of my package information in that application. But the bit that we're super interested in today is this code analysis bit. So if we click onto code analysis, we're going to see that there are a whole bunch of things that Snyk Code has detected in this particular repository. We've got some hard-coded secrets. We've got command injection, possible SQL injection. And so let's just go and drill down into one of these. So we can see we've got this priority score. And this priority score, like all the priority scores in Snyk, is supposed to be to guide you in choosing how to prioritize fixing these things. So there's a whole range of things that go into that score, isn't there, Brian? I'm not quite sure exactly what the factors are in Snyk Code. I'd have to look that up. So
I think a few of these things this is for Snyk Code specifically. So I am not sure how it has worked with Snyk Code. I know how it works for the
yeah. I mean, if we talk about vulnerabilities, like it's a combination of like the CVSS score plus like is there an exploit available for it, and a whole bunch of other things. But Snyk Code is obviously slightly different to that because we're not talking about specific vulnerabilities. We're talking about potentially vulnerable code paths. So we'll
hear already that it has two bullets. Like one of the bullets is found in a file appearing in multi-code flows. So
yeah,
if it's in multiple flows, it will potentially.
Yeah, there's more chance of you. There's more chance of you triggering it, right? That kind of makes sense. And then has fixed examples available. So we'll look at that in a second. So this is one of the things that's super cool about Snyk Code. Probably for a hard-coded secret, that's maybe not so interesting. But let's see what it says anyway. So we've obviously got this actual token here in the code. And let's see what fix analysis. Okay, so these fix analyses are, this is a whole database of stuff from open source code. So where people have had the same problem and have solved that problem. And it shows you some options about how you might go and solve it. Obviously, for hard-coded secret, it's slightly less interesting. In here, they're just passing in a variable. But if we actually go and look at a particular a code path that might be more interesting, right? So let's have a look at this one. So this is a command injection. So unsanitized input from the HTTP request body flows into child process exec, where it's used to build a shell command. So this is a very common programming mistake, isn't it, Brian? Like unsanitized input being passed somewhere, used without checking, and therefore, you can cause all sorts of mayhem. So if we look at the full details in this, so what's it's showing us here is what the actual root of this problem is. So we start right at the request, and we can actually step through the code, showing where that data flows through that code path unsanitized and ends up in a function which could be potentially dangerous. And if we go to fix analysis here, we've got example fixes from other open source repositories, and in this case we've got 3 different ones, and so we can see 3 different kind of ways in which people have sanitized this input correctly in similar programming flows. So that's super cool, right? I love that feature.
I love the feature that you can see the actual flow, that where it actually starts and when it actually is, well, dangerous, say so, because it also means that if you have code that is basically dead code and there is no flow in or out of that function or whatever it is, that piece of code, if there's no flow into there, it's dead code, then it will not get triggered, which is an interesting line of thinking. So yeah, I love that. It's super handy.
Yeah, and I mean this also works across multiple files, right? So that input can come into, it doesn't have to all be within the same file. It can flow in the same code base, and it's going to detect that's happened across the whole code base.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love that.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. Should we have a look at another one? So this is an SQL injection, another really common scenario where we're going to take some unsanitized input from an HTTP request and then use it to build an SQL query.
What is the best solution for that? I would say don't use a database, because that is the best solution not to get into an SQL injection, right?
You could be right. So, well, let's look at what the best practices are for preventing this. So avoid passing user-entered parameters directly to the SQL server. When coding, define SQL code first, then pass in parameters, prepared statements, strong typing so that we reject unexpected data, and loads of other stuff that is sensible in that. Structured queries, yeah, exactly, Kyle. I guess that's the same kind of thing, right? Like prepared statements, so we can use things that have been prepared in advance, and we know exactly what they're going to do. And if we get unexpected input there, it's actually not going to work.
Well, I think it also depends on the language, of course. I mean, if you have a real prepared statement in some languages, if it's a real prepared statement, it will send over to the database engine. In that case, it will already get the whole execution plan, and then you add a second step. You add in your parameters, so that parameterized query. However, that depends on the language. Some languages don't have that. So, but it's interesting. Is there a Github Actions to kick off a Snyk Code scan? I found one for Snyk open source scan, but nothing for the SaaS scan. That's a great question, Olga. I don't think there is a Snyk Code pre-prepared Github Actions, but you can make that yourself, as in you can do the same thing. And I think this is a nice bridge. You can do the same thing that Matt is showing you now within the UI integration. So integrating your source code management tool. You can also do the same thing with the CLI. We did a bit of the CLI last month. By the way, I want to show this one. This is for everybody who wants to know more about SQL injection. There is a cheat sheet, and we have a ton of stuff on the blog if you want to do that. But going back to Olga's question, what you can do is you can use the CLI and use Snyk Code within the CLI to create your own GitHub Actions. And I know that in next edition of our user office hours, we will deep dive into creating a GitHub action. So
yeah, we're going to build that, right? We're going to try and build it.
Well, I hope I can manage to build that like that one live. But that's what we're trying to do. But basically, if you download the CLI and use that as one of your steps in your GitHub Actions, you can do that while you are building or using GitHub Actions as your build farm or your CI pipeline, basically. So I hope that answers your question somewhat, but I don't think there is a pre-prepared GitHub action available that you can just drag in.
I mean, that's the good thing about the CLI, right? I mean, I just put up on screen here, like we integrate with a ton of different CI tools where there's a dedicated integration for them. I don't have any of these set up at the minute, so otherwise we could kind of show one. But the CLI basically gives you, because all the functionality that's available in the UI or API or whatever is available via the CLI, it means that you can craft CLI commands that are going to run in any scenario where you're doing continuous integration.
Absolutely. I think the CLI is a great tool that can help you with integrations, and a lot of these integrations that stand here basically have the CLI embedded under the hood and use that capability to do scanning for you. So and definitely for GitHub Actions, you can do that. You can do that yourself. So what's next? So we
well, let's just see whether we've covered everything in the UI, and then we can kind of move on. So obviously, when you've imported a project like this, these are scans that run on a regular basis, right, Brian? So once my project's imported, this is going to run, every 24 hours, I think.
I think the default is every 24 hours, but there's a setting and you can set it to your preference. I think the default is every day, and you will get automatically pinged once a new scan finds something new. So basically, when you put new code into your repository, every 24 hours you will get that scan together with the scans for all the other things that we do.
Yeah. So like with all the Snyk tools, there are a bunch of ways that you can filter this stuff. So if we only want to see things that are high severity, we can put filters in there. We can filter on our priority score. So obviously we're not seeing anything that's above 585. We can filter on open or ignored, and on which languages. So you can also have multi-language repositories, right, Brian? Multi-language projects where Snyk Code is going to scan all of your, if you've got a repository with code across multiple languages, perhaps you've got back end and front end in different programming languages, Snyk Code's just going to work out which languages are being used and scan that whole project.
Yep.
And we can do ignoring. Obviously, being able to filter the amount of information that your developers are being presented with is super important. So, if we say that we actually don't care about this hard-coded secret because of some other mechanism we've got to protect ourselves against that, we can set an ignore on that over a period of days. Most importantly, we want to be able to leave a note for other colleagues to know why we've ignored this particular vulnerability. And we can set that on all things. So I guess we should, before we move on to the next bit, we should talk about what languages Snyk Code supports, right?
I think that is a good thing. I mean, we don't support every language yet.
Although there's more and more of them happening all the time, right?
Yep, absolutely. Let me get, but maybe you can go into the docs. I mean,
I've got the docs open here. So let's shall I share so languages and frameworks? Here we go. So let's share the docs. Let's stop sharing that, and we'll share the docs quickly. Where are we? Chrome tab. Languages and frameworks. Okay. There we go. Are we seeing that?
Absolutely.
And we need to put us at the side. Yeah, that's cool. We were over the most important bit of the page there, Brian. So Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, PHP, C#, and Go. That's a pretty good selection. And I know we've got a lot more in the pipeline. Ruby and Kotlin obviously called out in the docs there as being in beta. Yep. But I know the team are working super fast to add new languages, and I think there's special additional support for certain frameworks, kind of on top of base support for JavaScript and Java, right, Brian?
Yeah, some frameworks have basically their own. How do you say it? Their own specific language. So probably a domain-specific language in a framework.
Oh, here we go.
Or things and within these frameworks, these are well-known, well-used frameworks like React and Vue for JavaScript, or say Spring MVC and Apache Struts for Java. So these are well recognized. So it can also be, in this case, if you're using another framework, that things over there that might be sanitized in there that are not yet found, or unsanitized over there, are not yet found by Snyk Code. So it's not a foolproof thing yet, but as you know, and we talked about that last time, there are a ton of frameworks and libraries. So supporting them all is difficult job, but the team is working day and night to make sure that this will get expanded basically on a daily basis.
Very cool. Very cool. So before we move on, let's have a quick poke around, see whether there's anything else super interesting here. I was looking at this earlier. Was there something interesting I wanted to call out here?
Maybe we can zoom this a bit in. So
you want me to make it bigger on my end? You think?
If that is possible, Command plus probably, because you're working.
There we go. Right, how's that?
That's already a bit better. But maybe I do it a bit like this, so everybody can see it. We could still speak, but we're not visible in the screen.
Yeah. So hard-coded secrets, we talked about that, because you might kind of think that, the only things that this kind of tool is going to detect is like, those classic ones like SQL injection, vulns or whatever. But, there's quite a lot of other stuff that Snyk Code detects that's pretty cool. So hard-coded secrets. I thought this one was interesting as well, Brian, I thought. So dead code. I obviously don't have any repos that trigger this, but I thought it was interesting that that it can detect stuff that's just garbage basically in your code. That's nothing to do with being security, being vulnerable from a security perspective, but just stuff that you need to clean up.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in my projects before, but yeah, that means like I'm a demo programmer, so every bit of code is actually used. I don't write extensive programs anymore.
Okay, well, I think we're pretty much done on this bit, right? You want to maybe I think the IDEs are super interesting from the Snyk Code perspective, so maybe we should take a look at IDEs. Shall I?
Let's do the IDE and the CLI for
yeah. So I'll pass over to you to press the buttons at this point.
Yeah, let me share screen. And
so while Brian gets set up, do remember, folks, please do ask us anything. If we can't answer it, we'll find folks to answer it from around Snyk. So stick your comments, your questions into the comments box on YouTube or on Twitch, wherever you're joining us from, and ask us anything. It doesn't even have to be about Snyk.
Yeah, what's your favorite color is also.
Yeah, the performance of the Dutch national football team, anything really.
Well, let's not talk about the performance of the Dutch national football team at this point. I think that's a bit off. Let's keep it to that. But let's go into let's do the CLI for a second.
You're gonna have to go way bigger on that.
I know. I'm this first. I need to go to a.
Yeah, we're getting there. I'm old, right? Brian. I can't see very well, so you have to make.
But let me go into a demo application that I know has code vulnerabilities. You see, I prepared this very well. If you were here the last time, this is basically the same project. But now I'm going to do, like, I installed the CLI. We did that last time by simply npm install -g Snyk. And Snyk Code is already connected in my application. My CLI is already authenticated. So what I can do here is say Snyk Code and then test, because that is what we want. As a developer, you probably want to test your code while it's on your machine or as part of your build cycle. So what Olga previously asked about GitHub Actions, basically by doing this command, if you install the CLI and doing a Snyk Code test, it inspects your code and comes back with a ton of problems. Well, in this case, a ton of problems because I made these problems, but problems that are there. And you see that cross-site scripting issues, and it's in the user controller line 38, as you can see here. Gives me a tiny description on unsanitized input, and I think we can take a look in that in a second. It's deserialization of untrusted data, SQL injection. So this is something you can do early and often, and in the same step as you do, for instance, your unit testing or testing your code on your local machine. I think this is very, very valuable. It will get.
This is terrible code, Brian. Terrible.
I know. It's terrible code.
Who would write this?
But to be fair, it's only like how many? It's 6 high and 4 medium. I mean, not even a critical. That's quite a. I mean, you know who I am. It's Java, so it's quite good. Now, I made a lot of these things. I did on purpose. So, and one of the things I like even more, the CLI is very, very powerful too. And of course, you can do the same thing with Snyk Code test --JSON. We showed you JSON output before. So if you want to integrate this in your own tooling, again, also for Snyk Code, you can watch and see what kind of output is there. So it shows you where the lines are, what the trace is, what kind of problems are there, all in nicely formatted JSON. And that's a whole lot. And it shows you also what kind of fixes we found in other open source code bases that had a similar problem and how people fixed that. But I think even a better solution is doing that in your IDE. So this is my IDE, and I know this is small, and now I have a bit of a challenge. I can show you that the code is a bit bigger than that. But the point is, I cannot. This is the integration I downloaded for IntelliJ, and there's also an integration for Visual Studio Code that you can use. And by simply going into, hopefully, come on, yes, plugins, and if I go to Snyk, you will see that my Snyk vulnerability scanner is already installed, and that scans both my open source, my code, but also things like code quality can be scanned and other issues. But let's focus on the code problems for now. I scanned this already with Snyk Code, so you see that over here, and I can let me see. Help me out, Matt. Maybe this, if I do this, you get a bit of a zoomed in vision, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That means that everything is zoomed in on my screen, but I can go up and down from here. So it has 10 vulnerabilities, 6 high and 4 mediums. It's basically the same as we saw before. So let's go into the user controller, and it says cross-site scripting on line 38. So if I go there, it automatically opens.
I think you got to zoom out a little bit now, Brian.
Yeah, it opens the code base, and I can zoom this in this way. And it gives me some information over here. It gives me some information on where it starts and where it ends. And this is just in one application or in one function, which is, well, very useful that it's on line 35, it starts. That's the beginning of the function. And line 38 is basically where the problem is. And if we look at this closely, line 35 is the header of my function, or basically the parameter that comes into my endpoint. And without doing any sanitization, it shows me that I'm putting this in the response writer. So without doing anything, I'm just taking it and pushing it back as a HTTP response, or an HTML response in this case. If we look at what we can do, it says something like, for Java in this case, you can use the string escape utils and do escape HTML. So hopefully, I'm not sure if I installed this this library. String escape utils, Apache Commons text.
So in that particular case, you could, in theory, put some HTML into that variable and craft some malicious HTML there within that user.
I can show you what I can do. I can spin this one up. Let's try this. Well, if I, not the test, but let's go to the application. Now let's spin this one up and see what actually is going on. So going into this problem. Well, there's always the thing with demos live, right? It takes an hour.
Yeah, you're a brave man.
And normally you try to do this on forehand to make sure that your demo is actually running. So I hope it runs. I think it runs. And I used this demo a couple of times already earlier. So let's go into...
This is pro-level DevRel, Brian. Pro.
8081 should be... Yes. Oh, yeah. What's the username? Wait. I have to look this one up. Where's my username? It's in my... And I know I hard-coded it. That's wrong. That's so wrong.
Admin.
Admin foobar. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Kyle praying to the demo gods for you, Brian.
Well. You need to show some nerfs sometimes, right? So this is an application, and one of the things it has a bunch of So normally, what you can do is say this is a URL. This is basically the URL that I'm showing you, and what it does here is I will zoom this in for you like this. Oh, you see that the parameter is the word Batman.
Yeah.
And it shows that back as the username. This is literally the code I showed you before.
Yeah, because it's just taken that param, put it straight in a user tag.
So something I probably can do script. I think it's alert 1. Right? I'm not sure. I hope this works. Yes. So you see, because what I did was I over here, instead of a parameter, I created a script, and then because the input is not sanitized, it will show me the alert. And if I can show you the alert, I can do all sorts of things.
I mean, you could write some JavaScript in there. You could do whatever you like, right?
Yeah. So this is a classic type, and then I'm looking at the other screen, type 2 cross-site scripting. If I have my facts straight, but a reflective cross-site scripting problem. I put something in at the parameter, and it gets showed to you right away. And well, this one might be a bit obvious, but hey, I mean, even for programmers that are not so well known into this and just want to get things done, it's at least helpful. Let's quit this one.
So in the IDE, it's showing us exactly that same information, like what the flow of that.
Yeah, and I want to show you something.
Dangerous variable is through the code, right?
I want to show you something different, and that is a SQL injection.
Because this has got a few more steps to it, hasn't it?
Well, as you can see, if you look at the flow over here, it starts in my user controller at line 60.
And it's gone into a completely different file here as well.
A completely different file into my repository. Yeah. So if I go into there, so actually the problem results somewhere here. So if I go over there, it automatically shifts to that code. And you see that I'm doing a SQL injection because the parameter is, again, connected to my SQL string.
Yeah.
And if I change this to, well, let's do this in this is not a, well, let's make it a prepared statement. Prepared statement. And I think connection dot, I think is prepare statement, probably. Oh, now it's like a bit dodgy. Ah, yeah. I know I had it on forehand. I already prepared this one. That is real demoing. So instead of doing a normal statement, I'm doing a prepared statement, which means that I send the statement to the database first, and then include the parameter as include my input as a parameter. If I would rescan my Snyk code now, and that takes a bit of time, but that's because I'm trying to run an IDE, some Docker containers, a live stream, and having some proper video processing in. So that's why it's taking a bit of time. But then you will see that you will that this problem is in the end is gone. So yeah, so the biggest thing I love over here is that we can do this while we are coding, and do this once in a while. Scan this with your IDE. So my computer sounds like a airplane trying to take off now.
So when you're in the IDE, is there a what's the scheduling for how often this will scan in the background while you code?
No, as far as I know, you kick it off every time.
You have to trigger it, right?
You have to figure it, or you have to trigger it if you want to. I'm not sure if there are any settings that I can change this.
Well, that's interesting, because as soon as you open code, it's going to scan it, right? I thought as soon as you open that code base, it's going to start looking at it.
Let me see. Snyk code issues, Snyk code quality issues, Snyk container vulnerability. Now, it doesn't say anything in, at least for this specific IDE plugin, how to work this out. I think I've
got a feeling when you open a code base, though, it's going to trigger a scan on open to start with. Perhaps you then need to manually trigger it if you want to rescan.
By the way, within my user controller and my search repository, you don't see any SQL injections here anymore. I fixed it.
Nice.
So you see that, but it took a while because my computer is trying to take off at this point. Deserialization of untrusted data, and it sees all sorts of things. It marks it, in this case, per file, so you can actually see what's going on. Path reversal is also an interesting. Let me see.
I like how in IntelliJ you get that code security versus code quality. They're both coming from Snyk Code, though, right?
Yeah. Code quality is over here, and it says something about missing close and create statements. So this is more on the code quality quality assurance kind of side of things. And Snyk security, so the code security is actually on code flaws that I might have made in my problem. So
there you go. Carl saved us some looking up in the docs there. So Snyk's analysis runs automatically when you open a folder or workspace. There you go. Yeah. I was right.
I think it depends from integration to integration.
It scans automatically on file saves.
Again, that depends on what integration you have, and because in this case it doesn't scan, because if I change a file, it will blank out, and then I can hit the button again, and then it only scans that file or the files that are changed. So you don't normally need to change a full thing. But this one is interesting. It says path reversal, because basically what I'm trying to do here, I'm having a file that I'm trying to upload to a folder, but file.original name, which is part of the file that is inputted here. This is a multi-part file. But what if the file name is something like this?
Yeah.
So you can overwrite something outside of your application, and if you can craft a curl request in such a way that the file name is compromised, and you don't check it, so basically then it's again sanitizing, in this case, the file name.
So, and you've got some example fixes there.
Yeah, it tries to normalize things. Sometimes if you can resolve things, as in There are so many different ways you can.
Yeah, for this particular.
Here, this is. I think this one is interesting. Let me. So,
entry to get canonical path.
So basically, with the canonical path, you can see where that // traverse to, like what is the actual canonical path where it goes, and if the canonical path starts with the destination you want it to be. Because if I do // even though I'm in my upload folder, it doesn't end up in my upload folder. So this, I think this is one of the things that you can do, like look into the canonical path. So basically, see where
Look
it actually
what that path would be.
Yeah. What would that path be all up in the end? So that's why I love these integrations within my IDE that can help you out while you are coding. So every once in a while I'm coding, of course, this is a demo application, but I do this just to show, like, hey, did I make any silly mistakes? And am I confident enough that it doesn't hurt me? And if it hurts me, maybe I could just need to solve it so I get my pointer to nil. So yeah, this is the IDE part for Snyk Code within IntelliJ, and it does this as part of all the other things. Like these are my Snyk open source problems, even more problems you see, from critical to vulnerable. And you can select over here what you want in this. So do you want, if I only want security issues for code, I just keep this one on and I can untick the other things.
Sorry, I stole the share screen there. I didn't mean to do that. This is a good moment to say that all this IDE integration is also available in VS Code, which is the thing you're now seeing on the screen. So again, we've got a very similar thing. So we're looking at unsanitized input problem into an SQL query here. My text is slightly big here, so this looks a bit of a mess, but we can step through the flow to where that text is being used. And then if we right click on this, we can get that view that where do we want to go from here? So more info. If I click more info there, I actually get, in that case, I get a link to OWASP page on SQL injections. And yeah, I've lost all my browser windows now. There we go. Let's close that one. So again, it's a very similar, looks very similar from the plugin perspective. We've got the same thing as in IntelliJ, and I'm showing here, we've got the same Snyk open source information here as well, showing what dependencies have issues.
And I think it's important to say that yes, Snyk Code is part of the whole platform, but I believe you should use this in combination with all the other things. For instance, if you're just coding, use this and combine it with Snyk open source, so you have both that small piece of code that you wrote yourself, although it's significant, it's only a small part of your application binary that you put into production, and combine that with the Snyk open source stuff. So you catch, well, it's like, how is that thing out there? You got to catch them all, right?
I mean, I think, the whole philosophy behind all this stuff is that about removing friction for you to use this as a developer, isn't it? The sort of move towards DevSecOps and shift left is about empowering developers to be able to make informed decisions about security issues and fix those problems earlier in the code. And Snyk Code's a great example of that, where you can really easily integrate this into your workflow. So the overhead of you using it is virtually zero, right? Isn't it, Brian? Once you've got it in your IDE, it's obvious, it's a no-brainer to have access to that information while you're coding, and things you can fix before you even got to production.
It's
zero cost for that.
It's a no-brainer to do this even before I commit my code and push it to my main branch, because you can push it to your branch and do it like you showed in the UI integration by connecting your Git repository. But I feel like you should do this already earlier. I know, not saying it's instead of the other, but if you can do both, why not already start at on your local machine by fixing whatever you do, and before you commit, just run this once. I mean, I do the same normally with my unit test suite to make sure that everything what's in there is actually safe. And I love like less guesswork, more coding. Well, yeah, unless you code like me, you saw like how many vulnerabilities I created. So it's still a good amount of coding, but not so safe. But I guess I get where you're going there, Kyle.
And I'm guessing you get the same if you've set up the source code management integration, you get the same tests on the PR as well, which includes Snyk Code in the PR test, right?
You get the same results in the UI as you have in the IDE.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
It's
so when you submit a PR against that repository, you're going to have like the same Snyk tests run on that code, and Snyk Code's included in that testing.
But it's basically
you can do tests on each PR.
Yeah, but it's basically in another step in your life cycle. If you call that a software development life, the SDLC, if you look at that, this is just yet another step. And it might be that somebody needed to do something quickly or didn't test it, and or new rules came up and somebody found something new that might be connected to something else that creates a vulnerable path. It's interesting that you can do that every once in a while. But also, what I feel is also important is that if somebody puts in a pull request, if you're maintaining open source, and somebody puts in a pull request, you want to know that you're not getting worse, right?
Yeah,
I want to get better. So you can test it on forehand. And
well, we should if you can obviously sign up for a free Snyk account.
Yeah.
app.snyk.io/anything. I think if you're not logged in.
Let me try. I think it's just snyk.io. If you go to snyk.io, you already see a big button with sign up. And you can sign up there for free. So going to snyk.io is enough to get you started. And if you sign up, you will receive a ton of free tests already. I'm not sure how many free tests there are, but it's
a lot for Snyk Code, if I seem to remember, in the free tier.
I mean, it's enough for a single developer to do an extensive amount of testing.
Yeah.
So feel free to pop in any more questions if you want to, or maybe you say like, "Hey, Brian, what you did is absolutely not true. Call me out."
It's all rubbish.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's all rubbish. I know. Yeah. That's why I became a Java.
We know nothing. We make this stuff up as we go along.
But yeah, please try it out yourself. If you want to try this, download Snyk or sign up to Snyk. Try it, and if you have feedback, please come back to us and send us your feedback, because we are well aware that we know how these things work and we use them quite often, not all the bits and pieces. But if you see there's a problem with something, we can report that back to the product teams as well. So feel free to use it and come with feedback if you see like, hey, this is not quite working in my case. And we can connect you to folks that can help you with your use case or whatsoever. So I hope this was interesting.
And when's our next office hours, Brian?
Ooh, let me check. Snyk. Let me Google that. I have absolutely no clue. I know it's next month, but this is the wrong website. This is the customer office hours, and we are user office hours, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's probably at the end of March.
Yeah,
March 23.
There we go.
If you want to know when the next office hours is, let me put something as a banner.
And we're going to be trying to build a CI pipeline in GitHub Actions, aren't we? Which is going to integrate all sorts of Snyk goodness
Yeah, if you basically we are going to answer the question that Olga just came up with earlier in this live session. Can we use this in a GitHub Actions? And yeah, you can use all sorts of stuff, basically using the CLI to integrate with the GitHub action, including Snyk Code. So if you want to know more about our office hours, you see the URL below in your screen. Then you can subscribe, so you will get an invitation, or you get an email at least to that you get pinged when we on, because March 23, I will forget about that.
Yep, and the other thing we should mention is the big fix, which is ongoing at the minute. This is our month-long event for fixing vulnerabilities in open source projects. Yep. So you can sign up for the big fix some vulnerabilities, and get yourself some free swag. And we are going to be finishing off this fantastic event with a 24-hour live stream, right, Brian?
Yeah, on the 25th of March. Basically, that is the last
25th
Friday.
Of
yeah, it's the last 25th. That's the last Friday of March. We will have a 24-hour live stream. So in whatever time zone you are, there will be some interesting guests on that speak about either Snyk stuff or application security in general. We have a ton of guests from inside and outside Snyk, and basically we will try to encourage you to do as much fixing as possible, because if you submit, or if you sign up for Snyk and you connect one of your repositories, for instance, and you fix at least, I think if you already fix one vulnerability in one of the repositories you have, you are eligible for some nice, for swag.
Unique, highly customized.
Yes, it's not the t-shirt you're wearing. It's like you're wearing the normal t-shirt, like the ones that everybody has.
It's not one of these. It's not one of these. These are 10 a penny.
Yes, so you will get some specially designed swag for the big fix.
And whatever time zone you're in, you can join us for the live streams. 25th of February, we'll be doing the APJ one, EMEA, and the Americas. And you and I will be. You're hosting, aren't you, for a big chunk of the EMEA one?
I am hosting. I'm hosting
and talk about Kubernetes.
Yes, you are on my my part of the stream. Let me put the URL for the big fix in for a second. If people want to sign up, I have it here, and probably I can do this. And if you want to go to the big fix, so show it, you can show it over here.
Excellent.
I will also put it in the chat, so you can probably, I hope it's clickable at that point. But if you want to go and help us out, or help yourself out with some new swag, because hey, why not? Go to the big fix, sign up, fix at least one vulnerability, or join us, or join us during our live event at the 25th.
Yeah, there's going to be some great guests on the live stream. Some fab extra folks either giving talks or having a chat. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, okay. I think that's it for today.
Yeah. That was good. Enjoyed it. Thanks, Brian. Nice to see you.
So, folks, if you want to know more, feel free to ping us and come back to the next office hours. March 23rd, I said, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, March 23rd.
So let me find out how we can shut down.
See you later, folks.
All right. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thanks for joining us.